Hi, I'm Tony Nichols, and welcome to this edition of Chamber Chat. Hi, welcome to this edition of Chamber Chat, a program put together by the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce for the sole purpose of keeping you informed on what's going on at your local area Chamber of Commerce. Joining us on this edition of Chamber Chat, we'll have our sponsor, CNC Solar, who will speak to us about current trends in the solar industry. First up in the program, however, we have a person that's, I think this is a repeat for you.
Oh yeah,
on
second
Chamber
time.
Chat. Second time. We've only had one other person to come in here 2 times.
I loved it that much. I had to come back.
Mr. John Sapp, he's the chair of our Beautification Committee at the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back, man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I know you told us before when you were here what the mission of the Beautification Committee is. Could you tell us again what that is?
It's fairly simple. We just generally aim to keep Salisbury a cleaner and nicer place to live. We also have kind of branched more into education as well, and kind of doing initiatives more towards educating the community on what they can do to doing litter initiatives and just kind of generally cleaning up Salisbury.
Gotcha. Well, I know you're here today to talk about a pretty big event that you guys have coming up. Tell us what you're here to talk about today.
Yeah, we do. It's called the Great Salisbury Cleanup. Second annual. We did it first time last year. It's on April 12th, and it's in the neighborhoods right across the street from Y Middle. Pretty much is where we resided last year. There's a lot of great organizations that work with us when we do it. We partner with a decent amount of people. Last year we probably had about 50, 60 people out there, and we covered a pretty large area over there where we kind of just, we have it mapped out, and we give different groups different areas. And we also do work in the park and in the zoo as well. And on other areas, there's some civic groups that we kind of contact, whether it's churches or general just groups, and they'll do their own areas, whether it's their neighborhood or something like that. So it's a big community thing, and it was great last year.
You're going to be working in the same areas again this year?
Yeah, we're going to try to expand. Hopefully we can get we can map out a little bit more in the neighborhood there. It kind of is really generally depending on how many people we have, because we send them out in groups of 5 or 6 people, so we kind of need a decent amount of people in order to cover large ground.
So anywhere, if you had a little triangle from the middle school to the park, to the Civic Center, in that little triangle area, that community, right in that area, would that be a good footprint?
Yeah, that's pretty much what we did last year, but it surprised me so much how much trash there was. It was one of those things where you going into it, you don't really know what you're going to get the first time, but it was ridiculous the amount of trash we actually picked up.
You never really see it when you're driving down the road, but if you look for it, I agree, like you.
People try not to look for it.
Yeah, right. I think they try not to look for it. Yeah. That's right. But when you do look for it, it's there's a lot of it out there.
Oh yeah.
And you see people, whatever crew, whatever organization that adopts a highway, for instance, the amount of trash that's picked up.
Oh, we had a whole trailer full.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And we would have been out there all day if we continued, but volunteers.
Right. Now, is there anything different this year than last year?
Well, aside from the fact that we're trying to get a little bit bigger, we do have some new partnerships this year. Okay. We have the original partners, which we did work with the Boy Scouts. They did all the park, and then we also are partnering with Jackie Gass and ESBLN. They do an initiative down in the zoo where they partner up with local companies and people with special needs, and they go around and they do more of a landscaping based thing and kind of really cleaning up the zoo and getting it ready for Earth Day. Gotcha. And that's a good thing down there that they do. And then our other partnership is with it's called Stash Your Trash Initiative, and it's Priscilla Timken's actually head running that, and she's actually going to be able to tell you a little bit more about that than I can.
All right, well, let's get Priscilla on the screen.
Sounds good to me.
All right. We now have with us Priscilla Timken of the Stash Your Trash campaign that's going to be in conjunction with the Great Salisbury Cleanup. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tony. It's good to be here.
Well, it's good to have you. Tell us what Stash Your Trash is all about.
Stash Your Trash is a community initiative that Chesapeake Tours, which is a heritage tour company that I started 2 years ago, is working with area youth in sewing a community quilt. I get funding from the Wycomico Partnership for Families and Children to go into after-school programs and teach heritage crafts. So I decided this year to do a community initiative with the kids and have them bring awareness to the issue of litter in our community.
What a cool idea to do a quilt, because I remember, you know, even back when we were reading stone tablets when I was in grade school, you read of our forefathers bringing a community together for a particular item or a need, and they did it with a quilt.
They did it with a quilt. That's an awareness quilt, and there's a long history of that, which is what influenced my thinking on this.
Right.
It would be a nice visual that everyone could participate in creating, and everybody's going to be able to sign it, to take ownership of the project, and when they sign it, they get to take the pledge that they're going to stash their trash.
What's the goal of the campaign? Is that the goal to create this pledge or the awareness?
The goal is to create the awareness and to eventually change behavior. What we really would love to do is for everyone to remember that they're not going to stash, they're going to stash their trash, they're not going to throw their trash. Mm-hmm. And you know, by having just some participation in some project, we're hoping we're just planting seeds for people to remember to stash their trash and not litter, and you know, create that problem in our community.
Well, I see here you have a little sample of what the quilt is. Could you show the audience what that looks like? That's awesome. I will go to about 8 different after-school programs, and hundreds of little hands are involved in sewing this quilt. It's going to be huge. It's going to be about 8 by 6 feet in diameter. The kids, after they hand sew, get to sign it, and it will be on exhibit at the Salisbury Festival for the public to also take the pledge to stash their trash and sign the quilt. That's awesome. Are there any other partners that you have involved in?
There are quite a few partners. The city is going to adopt the slogan and logo and put it on trash receptacles. I'm hoping that the county will do the same, so that we will have just an across-the-board branding about stashing your trash. Mm-hmm. Students at SU are involved. They've created the logo. They are going to develop their own groups on the 12th to go into the community and help clean up different neighborhoods. So it really has been a very broad-based community effort to work on this initiative.
Priscilla, thank you so much for coming up on PAC 14 at Chamber Chat and sharing that with us.
Thank you, Tony. It's been a pleasure to have the opportunity to do this.
Make sure you stop by the Salisbury Festival and sign this quilt, Stash Your Trash, and take the pledge as well. Up next, we'll have Nancy Moore with CNC Solar to talk about some of the trends in the solar industry. But first, we'd like to give you the opportunity to take a look at the upcoming events with the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat. We have with us now Nancy Moore with CNC Solar. Nancy, thanks for coming on Chamber Chat.
Thank you for having us, Tony.
Solar. You hear that term? It's almost pop culture now. Mm-hmm. Are a lot of people moving to solar?
Yes. As a matter of fact, a new solar array is installed every 4 minutes. In the last quarter of 2013, a megawatt, which is 1,000 kilowatts of solar, was installed during every daylight hour.
Wow.
Yeah, and in March of 2013, that was the first month that 100% of new utility scale electricity generation in the United States, 100% of it came from solar.
Wow, so all the growth in that industry came from solar.
Oh yeah, wow. Yeah. Solar increased 15% last year as far as megawatts installed over 2012, and the job increases in the industry were 20% last year. 2,000 people in Maryland are employed in the solar industry.
Wow, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me go ahead and get this question up front and out of the way. Solar's expensive. I can't afford solar. Why should I do that?
Yeah, we fight that myth all the time. Right. And solar has actually come down 75% in price over the last 4 years.
I would have never in a million years thought that.
Yeah, it's come down a lot in price. And the incentives are still in place at the same levels that they were. So you'll see that a typical homeowner can install solar on their house for as little as $500 out of pocket. Businesses can go solar, completely eliminate their electric bill so they're cash flow positive, and they put no money down on the system.
Wow. So what is it, we have to dig into that a little bit more. What does it mean that a business can be cash positive and only have to put down no money?
Right, right. What happens is we install a solar array that eliminates their electricity bill, and instead they're paying a lease payment, and they pay that lease payment for 7 to 10 years. And that lease payment is less than the electric bill that it's replacing. We did that right here in Salisbury. Over at Credit Plus, we installed over 2,600 panels,
yeah.
And they're cash flow positive.
Wow, that's fantastic. How does this work for me? How does this work for the homeowner? For
the homeowner, we have a program that's better than a lease. It's an FHA Title I Home Improvement Loan Program. So you put $500 down. Your new lease payment is less than your old electric bill, and you can lower the price of that. And it's better than a lease because you own the system. So you get to keep all of your incentives. You get to keep your federal tax credit, you get to keep your SRAC income, you get to keep your state grant.
So what I'm hearing, to restate what I'm hearing, there's a high probability that if I install this, if I'm in an area where I have enough sunlight that I can install this, my home can be cash flow positive from a standpoint that the lease payment or the FHA home loan option is going to be less than what my light bill would have been, because my light bill is going to potentially go away.
Right. On my home, I eliminated a $100 a month electric bill, and I pay $84 a month on my financing payment.
Wow. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Why isn't there solar on every roof?
Well, I think a lot of people still believe in the myth that solar is expensive, and the upfront cost can be intimidating.
Right.
But through our financing program, we can eliminate that. And there aren't a lot of solar companies in Maryland, and that's why we're out knocking on doors and telling everybody about solar.
Well, I'm glad you're here, because a lot of people are going to hear about this.
Oh, good.
And hopefully it'll work out. Tell me about the incentives. I hear about incentive after incentive, and I think people may hear that word or that terminology and say, okay, well, that just proves that it's expensive. And they use that as an excuse not to have the conversation.
Right, right. Well, we have our state incentives are going to be around for a long time. It used to be that a few people got a lot of money and they would run out of money every year. They've changed that. They've lowered the incentives so that a lot of people get, and you get $1,000 back from the state for installing solar.
Cool.
You get a federal tax credit. That's in place until the end of 2016, and that is 30% of the total cost of the array.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I took almost $6,000 off of my taxes due this year. And then for businesses, you have accelerated depreciation, and that means that you can depreciate the array over just 5 years, in the first 5 years that you own the array. So the tax incentives for businesses are 67% over the first 5 years.
All right, because I'm a simpleton, an array is the equipment?
Right, the solar panels,
the solar panels,
the wiring, the mounting system, whether you're putting it in the ground or on your roof, and a piece of equipment called the inverter that converts the power that's generated in direct current or DC to AC that your house uses. It's the opposite of the alternator in your car.
Gotcha. All right, well, at my house, it gets cold at night. And the sun's not shining at night.
Right.
So how is this going to help me at my house when the sun's not shining?
Right. Well, Maryland has a law that says that whenever you're overproducing during the day, when nobody's in the house and your array's producing a lot of electricity, you're overproducing at that point in time. And the Maryland law says that your meter will actually spin backwards, and you're selling the power back to the utility at the same rate that you purchase it. And then in the evening, when you're home and using a lot of electricity, then you're pulling the power back off of the grid. It's called a net metering law. And so you're essentially, what that works out to is you're using the utility as your storage system. So you don't have to buy batteries, because the batteries and all of the equipment that run the batteries can be cost prohibitive.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
to know that, all right, if the way this thing's going to work, I'm going to produce more than I need, and we're going to let the utility company keep it for me until I need it.
Right.
And they're
Yeah,
going to manage all that, and I don't have to keep track of it. That's
exactly.
awesome.
And they don't charge you for that service.
Very cool. Is it risky, this array? What if it hails or it breaks or?
Oh, they're warranted. Anything up to 1 inch in diameter can hit the panels at up to 50 miles an hour. All of our arrays are designed to withstand winds up to 120 miles an hour. So solar is really a fire and forget it technology.
Maintenance low or?
Almost no. And that is a fallacy that's really put out by the leasing companies. Oh, well, we'll maintain your solar array. It's a fire and forget it technology. Since I've installed my solar array, I have done exactly nothing to it.
How long have you had it up?
I've had mine up since August.
And you've done nothing?
Nothing. So, and my dad has a solar array that's installed right on the bay, right on Rehoboth Bay, and he's never had to clean his solar panels, and they continue to work just fine.
Okay, these credits you keep talking about. What do they? Is that available to everyone? Just businesses, homeowners, and businesses? Tell us more about these credits you keep
Yeah, an
talking about.
SREC is a solar renewable energy credit. And in addition to your electricity savings, every time you generate a 1,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, you automatically generate 1 SREC. And the utilities in Maryland all have to buy these, so you can sell these SRECs to the utilities, and you can make a lot of money with it. A typical home system generates 6 to 10 SRECs per year, selling those at $130 each, which is the current SREC price in Maryland. A homeowner can see $750 in income in addition to their electricity savings from solar.
Wow, that's in first year even? That's
That's every year.
Every year. Wow. All right, what kind of buyers are you guys seeing? What kind of people are interested, or more importantly, the people that are interested and won't ask?
Right. Well, you know, I thought that it was going to be a lot of environmental people, but really you're looking at people who are more interested in a good return on investment. I mean, we're seeing return on investments at the low end, 11%. At the high end, we're seeing 27% return on investment in solar.
To me, it sounds like a no-brainer. We're going to put your contact information up on the screen, so if someone is interested, they would just contact you, and I'm sure there's an assessment, and you give them an idea of what's going to happen, and if it's eligible, if they have enough sunlight, if they have enough, you know.
Yeah, it's called a roof analysis, and we do that for free. We do it for homes and for businesses for free. And if you don't want us to take a look at your home, you just want to find out more, we have a series of solar seminars coming up. We have a new series coming in the spring. One of those is going to be right here in Salisbury. And if you want the details on that, what's going to be covered, dates, times, and you can even register online at our website, which is cncsolar.com.
Fantastic. Nancy Moore, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much.
This is a great conversation.
Yeah, this is good.
All right, next up, we're going to have John Culp, Executive Director for the American Red Cross, talk to us about some things going on there and things that are maybe still impacting the community that you might not realize. But first, we'd like to give you another opportunity to see the upcoming events with the Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to Chamber Chat. With us now is John Culp, Executive Director for the American Red Cross. John, welcome to the program. Man.
Oh, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Glad you could be here. The American Red Cross, right out of the gate, the first thing that I think of and many people think about, you know, across the United States and even globally, you see the Red Cross and you think of blood and a blood drive.
Absolutely.
That's a little bit different here in Salisbury. Can you speak to that?
It is, Tony. We, the Red Cross, as you say, across the country collects a lot of blood. Something over 40% of the American blood supply is collected by the Red Cross. But here on the shore, that's not the case for reasons I have to tell you. It's rooted in history somewhere, and I don't know why. The collection here is by the Delmarva Blood Bank, but the Red Cross in all around us, southeastern PA, western shore, Norfolk, collects blood. Yeah.
Well, I think it would probably be it's certainly an ally that takes a burden off you locally that
Yes.
you can focus on other areas.
Yes, sir.
And there are many areas that you guys focus on. Can you speak to some of an overview of what you guys do?
Sure. Well, we do a lot of things. The heart of what we do, of course, Tony, is disaster relief of all kinds. Big, like Hurricane Sandy, smaller, house fires, that sort of thing. We do training. You know, you've heard people say, "I got CPR training from the Red Cross."
Exactly
we do that. We provide certain services to the military, which is rooted way back in our history that I can talk about. We support Junior Red Cross clubs. We have what we call a rehab offering that we do, where we take care of first responders. These are all things that we do. But the heart of what we do, Tony, is disaster relief. Yeah.
Talking about disaster relief, not long ago I moved downtown. I moved my office from the north end of town downtown, and within 30 days, a little hurricane by the name of Sandy came through.
Yes, sir.
And I got to redo the floors again, so it's 2.0.
Yeah.
Are we still feeling the effects? I know Chrisville was devastated, but are we still feeling the effects of that?
Yeah, the Red Cross is still supporting relief efforts all over the Northeast, all over the areas that were affected by Hurricane Sandy, including in Chrisfield. To date, and I think I can share this number, to date, the American Red Cross has put $1.9 million into Chrisfield and the surrounding area. Yeah. So very proud of that. Very proud of that.
That's a need that would go.
Yeah.
I won't say unnoticed, but certainly underserved.
Yeah.
Without the Red Cross.
Yeah.
One thing has been in the news, and I certainly am ready for the 85-degree Ocean City wind in my face.
You and me both.
But the United States has come out, and the geological services and the weather services have come out, and we're on record now we've just come through the coldest January in 100 years.
Yes.
Certainly that has impacted the services or needs of people in the community. How so?
Absolutely. We have just come out of or are coming out of the busiest winter we've had in memory.
Wow.
We have responded to twice the calls for help that we did in 2012, and we have served twice the number of people that we served in 2013. We've been extremely busy. When it gets very cold, people, of course, are trying to stay warm, right, and they do things that are unsafe. The pipes freeze. Again, they do things that are unsafe. So there's been an enormous number of house fires, all of which we've responded. And I'll say something else about that, Tony. We've spent a lot of money. I am because of that effort.
Sure.
I am way over budget for my relief fund. So sure, I'll give the community a heads up. Over the next month or two, I'm going to be aggressively trying to replenish my my disaster funds.
Well, I think having been here 9 years now, this is a community that certainly, when there's a true need, it steps up. So
absolutely.
I think the community would do so again.
Yeah.
Have you seen a ramp up, with the cold and with shelters? Have you had to step in and help shelters at all, or because I would think more people have had to come in and seek shelter, yeah, than normal because of the same reason.
Well, I'm only thinking of one instance where we've had to open a shelter, and that was up in Cambridge. Most of our activity has been, one up. There's a house fire or an apartment fire involving several units and that sort of thing. There's only one sheltering effort that I can remember, though there may have been another that I'm forgetting. But
gotcha. How many house fires, maybe statistically, would you say? Unfortunately, I went to work. Again, my office is right there on Main Street, and there was a house engulfed.
Yep.
At 7:30 in the morning, right across the street.
Yeah. So, well, in January, let me see. For example, we went out 40 calls. That's more
40 calls in January.
In January, that's more than once a day, and took care of the immediate needs of 179 people.
That's amazing.
That was just January. Yeah.
You would never think that the American Red Cross is stepping in here locally, over once a day.
Yeah. Over once a day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. And what we do, of course, is we can't take care of people long term. Right. I don't have the resources for that. But we're the people who show up. We try to show up in an hour or two, and we're very good about that. and we do what you see on television. We put a blanket around people's shoulders and
Sure.
give the children a stuffed animal, and we say, okay, don't panic. Tonight you'll be in a warm room. We're going to see to that. You'll be fed. If you need medicine, we'll help you get that. If your medicine was burned up, clothing, we'll help you with that. And we're going to help you for a few days, and then we're going to counsel you on how to sort of start to get your life back together. So that's what we do.
So many times it's just, how many times have you just talked to a friend and you didn't have to say a word, you just had to be present. You just had to be in the room.
Yeah.
And that's what I see the American Red Cross as, the big blanket in and of itself.
That's we're doing what you would do.
Sure.
We're just your representative. We're doing what you would do if it happened to the guy next door.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
I would think that the same thing would apply. You have the disaster of a house being engulfed and it's not livable. But I would think the same thing might apply with burst pipes. Going back to if it's a bad event and the home is not livable because there's not water or whatever the case may be, we step in and
or trees falling in. We've got automobiles run into people's houses on slippery roads, and it runs the gamut.
I can imagine. Everyone says they need to write a book.
Yeah.
Sounds like you need to write a book.
Yeah. There's a lot of stories out there.
Yeah.
A lot of stories.
Was there anything that you would like to leave with us in terms of, certainly I know the community will step up in your effort to replenish your funds, but here comes the summer season, and the hurricanes or the nor'easters are going to start, and anything that in terms of preparing that you would like to share with people?
We have a lot of preparedness information that we like to give out to the public. If they want to call the chapter or something, we can give them, this is what your emergency supplies should look like. Here's some things you need to do as a family, like having a meeting place outside the house. I mean, we have a lot of, it's all common sense, Tony, but it sort of gives you a checklist of how to prepare for storms. And if people want to contact the chapter, we would be glad to mail them something. We go out to a lot of businesses or health fairs and stuff like that where we try and talk about that and help the community be prepared for
something
for
is
storms.
better than nothing.
Something's
just
better
a
than
little. Just
gives
a
you a
little.
checklist. You forget things. Don't forget the dog if you got a dog. Don't forget your medicines. Have some emergency supply of medicines. It's all common sense, but we give you this checklist that'll help you.
John, it's always a pleasure to hear you talk, and thank you for the work that you guys and the American Red Cross are doing in the community.
It's a privilege. It's a privilege.
Thanks for being on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
We'd also like to thank you for joining us on this edition of Chamber Chat. If you missed any portion of this program or you'd like to see previous editions of Chamber Chat, we'd encourage you to visit PAC-14's website and utilize their on-demand function, or you could also visit the Chamber of Commerce website and just search for Chamber Chat. We'd like to thank CNC Solar for being this month's sponsor. We welcome you to give us your comments through the Chamber of Commerce's website on topics that you might like to see, feedback on this program or others, and we'd be happy to entertain your thoughts for future editions. Well, that's about all the time we have for this edition of Chamber Chat. My name's Tony Nichols, your host, encouraging you to make a difference.